Yeah, I've talked a lot about the news item where someone fraudulently sold a property belonging to the estate of the late Tony Hsieh. And I mentioned in some of the other videos there were some huge red flags that screamed fraud that your county recorder ignored and went ahead and recorded that anyway. I want to talk about what those red flags are now so that you can understand how they totally dropped the ball. And let me just tell you, it's not the fault of the staff at the recorder's office. This is a leadership issue, not to point out these red flags and make the staff aware. That's why you ought to elect me, because I'll spot these red flags. Let's talk about them. First, you've got a situation where an individual is selling a property that belongs to an LLC. That doesn't happen. The sale has to be authorized by the LLC, not some individual. You know, if the county recorder's office had done 30 seconds worth of research, they'd have gone to the Secretary of State's website and seen that this person who was named as the seller wasn't part of the LLC. That would have been really easy to spot and stop this fraud from ever occurring. But they didn't do that, whatever reason. Second thing is, there should have been a watch list. Think about, and this is purely a leadership issue. When someone who's famous and well-known dies, and their estate and their assets are in dispute, and they own a lot of real estate, if I were county recorder, I'd make our staff aware. I'd tell our IT people to flag those properties in the system so that if a sale goes through on one, or we're asked to record a sale on one of those properties, we do a little bit of digging and ask a couple of questions, because you know those assets are in dispute and you know those assets are an easy target for criminals and thieves. But the leadership didn't do this, and so this sale, obviously fraudulent, got recorded and somebody lost $1,200,000. We can't tell if the seller, who was fraudulent and doesn't even exist really, they probably totally even gave a fake name, but somebody walked away with $1,200,000. We can't tell because Clark County is the only county in Nevada where you can't actually see the physical documents themselves online. So we don't know if the seller or the fraudulent seller walked away with that money or the buyer got the proceeds from that loan. We don't know, but there's a lien against that property. That's a whole nother issue. So third red flag. The sale was requested to be recorded 12 days after the sale. No legitimate buyer of any real estate is going to wait 12 days to record the action, because what that means is for that 12 days, the old seller still owns the property. They can get a new loan. They can get a lien. They can get a judgment against that property, and me, the new buyer, now owes that money. No way, I'm not waiting 12 days to record a sale. That should have been a red flag to the recorder's office, but it wasn't. A fourth red flag is you've got a local seller, a local buyer, and a local title company recording this transaction. But they used a title company with the same name in another state. Why would local people buying and selling a piece of property use a title company in another state? By the way, it turns out that title company office in the other state was totally fraudulent, didn't exist, and all the signatures from the title agent and the notary were all forged. But shouldn't that raise a red flag to you at the county recorder's office? You got a local title company just a few blocks down the street, but you're using an out-of-state office for that title company, but your buyer and seller are here local. That should raise some red flags where you at least you've got 2 days to check the thing out if you follow Nevada law. But that didn't raise any red flags for our current Clark County recorder. They let this fraud happen because they don't care and they don't follow Nevada law. And now there's a fifth red flag on this that's even more troubling. Here it is. Most real estate transactions, the title companies do what's called electronic filing or e-recording. It comes into the recorder's office electronically. I don't know, because the county recorder's office refuses to tell us, if this transaction walked in physically or if it was filed electronically, but either way, there's a huge problem here. If it was filed electronically from a fraudulent title office that doesn't exist, that means that somebody can spoof or hack their e-recording system, and we have a huge problem. And if it wasn't filed electronically, if somebody physically walked in and asked you to record this real estate transaction, but it's from a title company that always files electronically, that should be a huge screaming red flag. One way or the other, we've got a huge problem here. Your current Clark County recorder ignored all these red flags and allowed this sale of a prominent deceased person's property to go through and be recorded when it was obviously screaming fraud, 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 and they totally ignored that and recorded it at that anyway. Bottom line is, your home is at risk. And if you elect John Evans as your Clark County recorder, I'll do everything under Nevada law to protect you from that.